Welcome to LegacyCast, where we talk about your story, your way, and what are you doing to make sure that people know about you many generations from now. Hello, LegacyCast listeners. This is your host, James Snow, with the program LegacyCast, where we talk to you about what people are doing in their lives that is going to leave a lasting mark on the world for many generations. I have a good friend of mine here with me today, Stephen Kuhn, who I believe he's probably on the same page with me with some of these things. Stephen, welcome. He's coming to us from Budapest, Hungary. So we have a little bit of a time difference here. He's in the evening and I'm in the afternoon, I think it is. Welcome to the program, my friend, Stephen.
Thanks, James. How you doing? Thank you very much. Honored to be here. I know there's many before me. Looking forward to keeping the pace.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll do very well. And you know, you're sort of on the same page I mentioned as far as legacy, because you know when I talk to people, it's I try to remind them first off that really a legacy is not just about money. It's about a bigger picture. It's about what are you teaching your kids? What do you believe in? What are you doing that's going to make the community better? What are you leaving a mark that's going to outlast us, for a multitude of generations. So it's not just a money thing. And so really, what is when you're thinking about your legacy, what does that mean to you?
Well, I've been fortunate to work with and be related to, in many ways, shapes, and forms, the European royal families. And they taught me a lot about legacy. I mean, we're talking, they have family books from the 1300s, 1100s, 1200s, right. Where they look and read what their family wrote, and they follow that tradition, the way they speak to each other, the way they handle themselves in business, and the way they handle themselves in society, the way they treat their kids, the way they educate their children. It's all about legacy. And I mean, it's about keeping the culture of your family, of your past, of everything that you were and which got you where you are alive. Now, obviously, my family comes from Switzerland in 1550. They went to Germany. After Germany in 1740, they went to America. So I'm fortunate to also have a family that I can trace behind. Now, I don't know anything about their legacy. I don't know what they left behind except for the name, except for one grandfather who was in the Revolutionary War. And for me, honestly, I'd like to get to the point of creating legacy. I think that we all try to impact the world, but in today's 30-second attention span world that we live in, right. It's a constant it's like a constant pressure. You have to try to make things happen. And I do that by creating value for everyone around me and giving free value for anyone that I come in contact with. And if I'm honestly, for me right now, I want to secure my family's future. So I'm going generation 2 ahead. So I'm going two generations ahead is what I'm planning for. Right. I know I should be going longer, but for right now, coming from where I came from, 2 generations is not bad. So yeah, I get the legacy thing. For me, I just want to make sure that the qualities that were instilled in me when I was a child are instilled in my children, and a bit of what I learned from the royals I'm instilling in my children as well, because I find that their way of dealing with each other and the way they speak with each other, the mutual respect to have each other, and of course living in Eastern Europe, and especially in Hungary, where they're the most polite people you ever meet. It takes them 5 minutes to say hello because they're being so polite. Is also a great mix for my children to grow up in. I love it.
Yeah. So obviously, you feel like it's an important consideration that people actually invest some energy and some time thinking about what are they doing today that's going to impact, like you're saying, your children, your grandchildren, great grandchildren, and so forth. That people should really, spend time thinking about it.
I don't know how much time I would think about it. I just say you look at what your goals are and what it is that you want to, how you want to impact the world, and you start doing it. Everyone talks about planning for the future, and what happens is then you start living in the future, and you're not living in the now, in the present. And most people stress about the future. They worry about the future. They worry about the money. They worry about what's going to happen, what's the kids. And honestly, I do too. But when you know that the worry is only present because your mind is telling you to worry, you can shut it off immediately, because the past can't come to you and the present can't come to you unless you think about it. So if you cut that off and replace those thoughts with positive, with affirmations, or with something wealth building,
Sure.
there's a lot of wealth building affirmations out there that actually work. Then of course you're not worried about the future. And I think just like anything else, you plan, you envision, you set the stage, and then you let it go and you just go for it. And that means living in the now, having planned the future and going for what you want to do. Like if you want to set up a fund and you want to start paying in 10% a month, and then you want to send enough, get enough money saved to send your kids to school and then grad school or whatever, and you just do it. You say, okay, that's what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. Done. Boom. Gone. Just not worry about it. Worry about it. I'll do it next month, because next month will never come.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as from a business standpoint, how does that kind of a thinking, how do you correlate that into what you do as a business?
Well, I never really did that. Everyone dreams about the big business that they're going to leave for their family and stuff. But in this day and age, most businesses are whittling down to internet business, service-based businesses, education, online. It's really not normal anymore to see a brick and mortar business being passed down through the generations. It's not, unless it's a huge corporation like IBM and stuff, which the granddaughter unfortunately just committed. She was a friend of mine from IBM, the IBM founder. Her granddaughter committed suicide like 6-8 months ago. Horrible thing. Oh, wow. And which questions the legacy as well. And so I think in the business area, when you're building something for your family, it's obviously admirable and something that you want to do. I don't know anymore if the world is that kind of a place where people say, I want to, follow my father's footsteps and my grandfather's footsteps. Matter of fact, I don't really know anyone that does that anymore, except for the royals, of course, like I said. But I don't know of anybody who followed in anyone's footsteps anymore. It's like everyone's an individualist. Everyone wants to break out and do their own thing, be special, and that kind of stuff. And I'm sure my children will be the same. But that being said, I'm still building something for the future for them, just in case it comes to their mind. If not, they just sell it and take the money or whatever.
So when you're, as far as with your business, are you looking at it as maybe handing that to somebody else though, or is that something that you really haven't really spent a lot of time thinking on? Yeah,
well, I don't want to assume that my children or my wife will want to have my business. I talk a lot with my wife about things like this, and she definitely isn't someone who would want my business. So I know my wife doesn't want it. And my wife's 21 years younger than me, so that could very well be that, I could be gone and she'll still be here for quite a long time. And my children are only 3 and 4, so that's definitely, at 51, my children are 3 and 4. That's a long way to go, So I can't assume that they would want it. I can't assume that they could even do it even if they did want it. So I'm planning for the handover. But if they're not able or something happens, then at least it'll be structured so it can be sold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that in turn, is another form of legacy, obviously, because
right.
You had that business legacy that you're passing to where somebody else could fill your shoes, not as well as you, obviously, but it could
maybe better. Who knows? Maybe better. Maybe like I remember when I was in. It's just you just never know. Like for instance, when I went to Berlin after the army, or when I moved back to Berlin after the army, I opened up a cocktail bar, an American cocktail bar. Mahogany sort of, bench rests and beautiful, had the pyramid bottles in the background, flipping the bottles and things. And it did okay. It did okay. And then, I had it for like 10 years, but after about 10 years, the American wave came. Everybody had an American something or another. So I was like 10 years too early, and so you never know. And the people that came after me, they still have it. It's 20 years old now, the bar, and they still run it. So that's a legacy right there that I could have, given to let's say if I had sons at that time, but it would have been too early, and maybe they would have messed. So you never know. What I'm doing now, maybe not cutting edge now, maybe later, or vice versa. You never know. So I think that leaving things open, trying to predetermine, trying to find a certain way to do a certain thing to make sure a certain thing happens is almost impossible these days. I think just doing your best and being honest and truthful person, living, as you know, with honesty and integrity and transparency and everything that you do, creates a platform, a basis of integrity. And, every relationship on the planet that's positive is based on integrity. And so this is how I sort of build my legacy, is I teach my sons and my son and my daughter and everyone around me what integrity means. It doesn't mean, standing there with your chest out and freedom fighting, barrel-chested freedom fighter. It just means doing what you say you're going to do and not doing what you say you're not going to do, and treating others with respect, elevating them, making them feel better, being a reason. Like today, As an example, I mean, this is a banal example, but I was at the gym and I saw this. There was some trainers that I know. I'm talking to them, and they were standing with this girl, and they said, "Oh, she's a model." And I go, "Okay." And I asked if she knew, one of the model agencies, and she said, "Yeah." And then I said, "Well, I know the owner, if I can hook you up." And then it turns out I hooked up with two modeling agencies, one of the largest in America and the largest here in Eastern Europe. And she was completely blown away, but I didn't ask for information. I just left. Like I'm like, "Oh yeah, have a good life," and I left. So what I did there was I gave her an impulse of, let's say you want to call it love or positivity. I elevated her and I helped her on her way, and then I moved on. That's for me. That's a legacy to leave behind. Like, who was that guy? You know what I mean? Like, he just helped me for no reason. He gets nothing from it. Why did he do that? For me,
Right.
that's probably the biggest honor that I can bequeath on the world if I can do that everywhere I go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the feeling you get from it, is your reward, and
it's priceless.
What's better than that? Right.
It's priceless. It is. It really is. It's priceless. I mean, when I feel down and depressed and I can't get it out of my head, I just go help somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, spot on. So if you're looking at your business, we'll look at it from the CEO standpoint for a moment. A lot of people say, there's things that keep them up at night that they maybe are concerned about in business. Are there things that you find yourself, pondering on?
Well, I'm a big fan of delegation. I'm delegating the task and then never the responsibility, but I keep my life very simple in the way that I work with collaboration partners. So my collaboration partners do all the things that I don't want to do. And what I don't want to do is anything detailed. I don't want to do anything tech related. I don't want to do anything back end related. I don't want to do anything administration related. I want to talk, teach, learn, and speak. And, that's what I want to do. And so all of my collaboration partners do what they're really good at. And I do what I'm really good at. Therefore, I don't really have anything to keep me awake at night. What keeps me awake at night sometimes is I started my online business just 10 months ago.
Okay.
And it came from zero. I had no idea I was going to do an online business until 11 months ago when I just quit my career. And I said, okay, I'm 50 and now I'm starting a new career. I don't know what career. I don't know what I'm going to do online, but I'm going to do something online. And I turned that business into a, more than double, triple, six figures within 5 months. And now I'm 10 months away. I bought a house, so it's going amazingly well. Mm-hmm. But I just think that business is what we believe it is. And if we believe that we're in trouble, then we're in trouble. So when I lay down at night, I go to bed and make sure that my mind is focused on the good things and on the positivity and on, let's call it manifestation of revenue, of contacts, of moving forward. And the only place that I have some kind of, and I'll be honest here, some kind of, I don't want to say worry, but things that I think about is getting those clients, because I'm a turnaround consultant. So my contracts run usually 4 to 6 months, and I'll turn them around those 4 to 6 months. Usually in the first hour or two of meeting online, we'll find revenue. So my famous story is finding 200,000 in the first hour for one guy, and the other guy asking one question and making $1 million out of 20,000. And it's not rocket science, right? But finding those clients that will say, okay, yeah, I'm going to pay Steven to help me turn my business and life around is not always easy, because most people don't admit that they need the help. And if they do need the help, they want it cheap. They want a budget. They want, oh, come on, just help me out. Come on, just help me out. And I'm like, I'd love to help you out. This is my job. This is my business. This is my livelihood. So, sometimes my goodwill gets in my way, if you know what I mean, because I'll do for every full paying client, I'll do a veteran half price, right? Mm-hmm. So for every full paying client I do a veteran half price. Well, I'm now at more half price veterans than I am at full paying clients. So I didn't keep my own word to myself, you know what I mean? Which is fine. So that's the only thing I think about sometimes. But then I think about it, you know what? I'm happy. I have a good life. I have nothing to worry about. Why worry about it? And then it just fades away and everything's cool.
Good. So now, as far as planning strategy, how are you feeling on that? Do you feel like people should do that both in their personal life and their business life? Create some sort of a strategy plan and stick to it?
planning is essential. I mean, if you don't know where you're going, how are you going to get there? You know, it's simple as that.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that speech. And I think I planning, you know, some people think technical planning, some people think strategy planning, some people think manifestation planning, some people think spiritual planning, and for me it's what fits. So what are my plans? I mean, what do I want to reach? What's my goal in life? What's my goal, what I call life enterprise, because everything's together. So you can go to work and you come home and people say, I don't bring my work home with me. Well, you do, because you're you and you're not bipolar. So at least, you know, maybe you are, but you know, you're not, you know, actually bipolar. So you're bringing your work home with you, and you're bringing your private home, your private life back to work. So it's a life enterprise, and you have to plan that stuff. I mean, you got to plan when you train, you got to plan when you work. I mean, you know, I had a client today and he's like, I don't have any time. And then we went through his day and we found 3-4 hours and 40 minutes where he was doing really nothing. And it just thought he was doing something. So this is why you need to plan. So you plan your mornings, you know, your magic mornings, whatever it is you do. Like in the morning I get up and I'll do some meditation. I'll do some affirmation work. I'll do some journaling, and then I'll work out, and then I'll start my day. And by that time I'm already focused and ready to go. I plan my weeks in advance. So my Sunday, my Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are completely full with appointments that I set on Thursday and Friday of the week before, so that I can enjoy my weekend and not worry about going to work on Monday and having to generate leads or generate, you know, appointments and stuff. And then I use those 3 days to close those. And then next Thursday and Friday, I start setting for the next week. So that's the short-term planning. Long-term planning is, like I said, my house, I took a year from conception of thinking I wanted the house until actually buying the house. And then there's longer term, which is, you know, where you want to end up. You know, I mean, you have to plan. And there's no way around it. If you're not planning, you're just shooting in the dark. And not only that, is success is then like playing roulette. You know, if you're not planning, your success, maybe you will, maybe you won't, but you'll never know until you plan to figure out where it is you're going. And if it's success, look, success breeds success in the mind and in reality. When you're doing good, you do better. Simple as that. So if you're reaching goals and you feel good about reaching those goals, you're going to do better.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Yeah. You know, it's like the saying, you know, when you fail a plan, you plan to fail, and
yep.
You know, that's very true. Very true.
Yep. Exactly.
So, what have you seen? You know, since you know your experiences in the turnaround realm, we'll call it. What have you seen as far as reasons that an entrepreneur either fails or gives up?
Lack of knowledge. Just lack of knowledge. Simple as that. I mean, you don't know what you don't know, right? Entrepreneurs are a funny breed. You know, they go out and they just do. They just take off and they do it. And they're really good at doing it. They're really good at getting started. They have that raw energy and that passion, and they drive through walls and you smash through the ceilings, and they just do it. But then they get to a point where the growth stops, where that power stops, because they're all bogged down with administration or banking or, you know, that kind of finances and things like that. And because I would say, I don't want to say flaw, but another, you know, character trait of entrepreneurs is they want to do everything themselves. So it's a lack of knowledge and trying to do everything yourself. Letting go and allowing someone to come in and do your books, allowing someone to come in and do your marketing, allowing someone to come in and run your sales team, whatever it is that you do, is key to surround yourself with winners and with people that are better in those specific areas than you are as a generalist. And the lack of knowledge is obvious. You know, there's a lot of entrepreneurs. A college degree doesn't mean anything to me. Like, I have an MBA and all that stuff, but a college degree to me is a bunch of knowledge, and knowledge without application is just knowledge. So if you know, there's a lot of people say, I have a college degree, but have you ever applied what you learned? No. Well, then it's just a bunch of stuff in your head. So, you know, a lot of these entrepreneurs don't have college degrees in that what they're doing. You know, literally, they don't. So it's all applied knowledge. It's all experience. It's all actual grounding hard stuff. So the theory behind it is also missing sometimes, and that's why when I come in, I have very basic rules, and it's called immediate impact revenue consulting. And what I do is I look for the fastest and quickest way to create revenue in a company, so that the owner, whoever it is, CEO, owner, leader, can sit back and say, okay, now we got the money taken care of. Let's look at growth and scaling. And how can we fix, you know, how can we cut costs and this kind of stuff? So unlike the classic consultant, where they go in and they ask you what's wrong, and they try to, you know, find out what they can do to fix that problem that they think you know what it is, instead of actually clearing your head first. Because often the last place that a business owner will look for problems is within themselves. So I solve the biggest problem that everyone has, that's getting money.
Yeah.
And then we work on the real problems. And usually when you peel that one first layer away of revenue worry, the real problems come to the surface, and that's when you can work the deepest and quickest. And I'm very successful in doing what I do. Very, very successful. I'm fortunate to have that sort of knack and intuition, to find people who are willing to take the leap with me, I guess you could say. Because it's sort of unorthodox what I do. I mean, I talk, I talk a lot about mindset, about letting go, about planning, setting up your days, things like that, just to get them going focused in one direction. We get back to goals again, goals and targets. Targets fall, goals don't. So you knock off the little targets all the way to the goal, that kind of stuff. So you know your benchmarks. So yeah, I guess, when it comes down to it, entrepreneurs are a rare breed, and they're successful or not successful because of the same reasons, Yeah.
So would you say that there are particular roadblocks that you'd warn people to look out for? Maybe warning signs that they should keep their eyes open?
Yeah. Sure. If you're flatlining, if you're not growth, if you're frustrated, if you feel sort of nerved when you go to work and stuff, then it's a sign that you're missing something. If you're frustrated, you're missing something. That means you're not open to seeing what's actually happening. You're frustrated about one thing. You're taking your eye off the big picture. And you're moving forward. Another sign is unhappy employees. Another sign is obviously cash flow problems, where you're making money, revenue, but you don't have any money to spend. And you're like, what's going on here? Or you have money to spend and you have no money to spend on your materials or whatever. And that's always a sign that something's out of whack. You need to do something with your pricing. You do upselling. You need to do some more sales, raise your prices, get new customers, talk to your old customers, get some referrals. There's a million things you can do to drive your immediate revenue. Honestly, anyone who's listening, and this is not a sales pitch, it's just the truth. Anyone who's listening that's sitting there going, man, I need more revenue, give me a call. We'll find it. I promise you, we will find more revenue in your company. I mean, there's only a few ways on the planet to grow revenue and to create revenue in a company, and I can count them on one hand, right? So when I know that, I walk in your company, I look what you're not doing, and we simply do it. And then boom, voila, money. Yeah, it's literally that simple. Yeah.
Makes sense. So now as far as maybe different support groups, is there different organizations or whatnot that you would recommend people reach out to?
You mean entrepreneurs?
Yeah.
You mean entrepreneurs? I don't know. There's always hell. I'm not a big organization networking kind of guy. But when I want to grow my business in my local community, like I've opened up, I don't even know, over 20 businesses of my own, and I've worked for other businesses in 9 countries. And the first thing I always do when I go to anything that I open up is I go local. So even if it's an online business, I go local. I go to all the chambers of commerces. I go all of the embassies. I go all of the consulates. I go every single business group, business meeting, women's club, international ladies, organization, men's organization, golfing clubs, whatever. And I present myself and what I do. And then I ask for cooperations. So I'll be like, okay, you guys have an event next month. Let me come over. I'll do a little speech and give some free advice. And then therefore I can set up a table in the back, things like that. So you want to go local, and you want to make sure that you get to be a known, like they call them influencers now, but before they were called thought leaders or community leaders or whatever, community thought leaders. And now it's called influencers. So make sure you're an influencer. You just got to be influencing in your own community first. And that way that'll give you the bravado, so to say, to be that elsewhere, online or wherever, because you are that person then in person, and not just someone online who has that sort of authority like me. They call me an influencer online, but wherever I live, everyone knows me here. Not everyone, but a lot of people know me here. A lot of the leaders, politicians, business people, they know who I am. So I'm in real life, opinion leader, but also online an influencer, and that makes it more, I guess, believable and real that way. Mm-hmm. So when you're looking at organizations and things like that, always be looking to give, first. before receiving. People will go to these networking events and say, hey, my name is John. Here's my elevator pitch. And then the guy's like looking over his shoulder going, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm bored already. Because they're not trying to get them involved. They're not giving them any advice. They're not giving them any value. They just want something. But everybody wants something at those events. First of all, that's why I don't go. But when I do go, I do the old Donald, what's his name, Donald Smith trick, where you go, someone asks you what you do, and I go problem, product, resolution. So the problem with a question. So you ask me what I do. I say, hey, James. You go, hey, Steve, how you doing? What do you do? And I go, well, James, do you know when managers or when leaders have companies and sort of all the employees sort of say something different when they're asked what the company's about? And you go, yeah, I know what that's about. And I say, well, I solve that problem. We have a software training program that solves this problem for your employees, so everybody's speaking the same language. And in the end, the whole company is one salesperson. So that's my elevator pitch, for instance. Problem, product, resolution. What's the problem in a question? What's the product that I have, and what's life look like after that product and that problem is solved? And so what this does is it empowers them to be into my conversation instead of me just blah, blah, blah myself to death. Because I've seen some elevator pitches posted sometimes. Hey, what do you think of my elevator pitch? And I was like, oh my God, if you said that to me, dude, please slow down, man. Yeah. So when you go to these things, always be adding value, elevating the others, introducing people, finding out the key things. But people want to talk. People want to talk. They want to talk about themselves, and elevate these people. And you literally have to say next to nothing about yourself, and just elevate others, introduce other people, and everyone will want to talk to you. Everyone. Yeah. Because people are like, wow, that guy, who is this guy? He never talks. He's always, but he's such a great conversationalist. And you never say anything because you're just listening and asking them questions.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you feel like people should or should not inject their value system into their business?
I'm not sure how to take that question. I mean, my values are many, but my core values are honesty, integrity, transparency. And that is, of course, part of my business, because my life enterprise is comprised of all the stakeholders, business and private, and they all partake of my, the results of my principles, so to say. So I think, obviously there's people who use principles that are not positive or not good in business that they might not use in their private life. But even then, the life principle takes over, where because you're doing something not positive or negative in your business life, it's going to spill over to your private life. It will, just simple as that. So yeah, I think values and the positive aspect are an important part of any human being.
Yeah, it's kind of like the belief system, as it were. Was kind of where I was headed with that. To where you hear say the separation of church and state, for example. They say don't put your beliefs within your business. And I personally, I don't really shy around it. People know where I stand, and so
yes. I get it. And it just depends where you are. Like in Europe, it's very touchy. You don't talk about religion. You don't talk about money. You don't talk about where you're from. You don't talk about your car. You don't talk about anything private when you go out anywhere. And in business, you definitely don't talk about your religion. You don't talk about, how much money you make. And, in the States, it's all about what I have, what I've done and that kind of stuff. So it's a different world. But for me personally, I keep my religion out of it. I just say I'm a believer, in the master universe. That could be anything, I do believe in God. So, but it's also, I also believe in the universe, and I believe in the higher powers, and I believe in angels, and I believe in everything. So, it's like, it's a part of everything. It's a larger picture. And what I don't appreciate is when someone doing business with me is trying to push it on me.
Yes.
Like, for instance, Chick-fil-A is a perfect example. They do it well. Like, I don't feel like I have to be Christian to go eat chicken. I don't feel that way. But there's other places where they have signs in the door, almost warning you, don't come in unless you're Christian. It's like, oh, gee, which I am, so it's not a problem. But it's just sort of distasteful for me when someone tries to push anything, and that doesn't mean just religion. That means anything. If I'm being told by a transgender that I have to call them Z or whatever. And when they're in my shop or in my world, then I don't understand that why would you come in? Well, then don't come into my shop. If you want me to force me to do something that I don't understand or don't even think about ever, then no, I don't get it. I just don't understand why in the world, America especially, and the UK, and now coming to Europe, coming to Europe soon, is this, you are forced to say and treat me the way I want you to treat me, but I will treat you differently than the way I want you to treat me. It's completely fremd, what's the word? Foreign to any type of religion or belief, even.
Right.
Any type of spiritual belief that you do unto others as you would do have done unto you. We know that.
Right.
So anyone who has a belief, I believe that all, whatever, purple Martian people should be treated like this, and you better treat me like that, or you're this, or you're that, or you're this, or you're that. You have no choice. You have no choice. You will lose. You will lose in that situation, especially when there's cameras and press there. So yeah, just look, we can all get along. We do it every day. Everyone does it every day.
Sure.
It's the big picture press people that make it sort of, the press and all that kind of stuff sort of push people against each other. And I don't know about you, but I don't, just as an example, I have a buddy, he's black, right? He's a German guy. He's a German black guy, and he lives here in Hungary, and they have a candy, right? And it's a candy from the 1920s. It's called Neger, right? So it sounds like the N word, but it's not with the I, it's with the E. But it means black. It's how you see black, right?
Correct.
And they've changed the name of it in some countries, right? To, I don't know, licorice candy instead of black candy, right? So it's like Nero. Nero is also black. So. And he's black, and he said, man, why would anyone get upset about this? This is ridiculous. So he said, take a picture, and he has a picture of it next to him smiling. I mean, that's the kind of people that I know. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know those people like, oh my God, I'm going to sue this company because I feel offended by their candy that's been around since 1920. So that's someone pushing their, I don't want to say it's values. I don't think that's even values. I think that's identity. That's identity politics right there. Someone trying to get something for nothing, or trying to get attention, or trying to be. But look, it's not their fault really. They wouldn't be in that situation asking for that special treatment if it wasn't taught to them to be that way.
That's true.
And that's a problem with our society. Our society is one of all kinds of splinter groups. Everyone is an individualist. Everyone is special. And all we do is argue amongst ourselves. And then, of course, the world's powers to be just do what the heck they want to do, because we're so embattled with each other that it's ridiculous. Which is why I really appreciate living in Europe. I really appreciate the freedom that I have over here as well. As far as, my opinions and their opinions, and everyone has their opinions. I mean, it's not all bad in America. Obviously, I was at an event in Croatia not too long ago with a bunch of entrepreneurs from America. And there was this woman with green hair, and she was I don't know what she was. She said that to me. I'm a zig gender, or whatever, what is called zig gender. And I said, what is that? And she was the coolest person about this whole thing. And she sat there and explained the entire thing to me. And when she said it, it made perfect sense to me. Like, I get it. I don't agree with it, but I understand why you agree with it. And I get it. It's totally cool. And we had wine, and we celebrated that she actually got through my thick head. So I was quite, I thought it was quite cool that she did that. So I don't want to talk bad about it, because I think someone who believes in anything and is good about it, that's a good thing, Yeah. But someone who believes in something and uses it as a weapon or a sword, and somehow any way to hurt other people and to push people away or into a corner, that's just not good. I don't care what it is, religion or not, So yeah, it's a touchy subject. There's a touchy subject, especially in the States. So I just, I don't really talk about it that much.
No, but you put
to each their own. But to each their own. Honestly, to each their own. I'm not going to be offended if someone talks about God in a meeting. Mm-hmm. It just won't offend me. If someone talks about Allah or Muslim or Islam or whatever, I don't. It doesn't. It doesn't do anything. Just don't try to push it on me. That's all.
Sure. Yeah. And well said. So, what is something that earlier in your life you did not do that you probably should have, that you've since said, I should have done that, or I wish I could go back and do that different?
Okay, there are two different questions there, because things that I would do differently, I don't think there would be anything I'd do differently. The only thing I would do differently is I'd be nicer to more people. And there was a part of my life in the early 90s where I just got out of the war. out of Iraq, and I came back, or I came back to Germany where I was stationed at the time, and got a European out and stayed in Germany. And I never went home to out process from the Army. I just literally stayed in Germany and got out. And it's called the European out. And I had 3 years of being a really bad person, maybe 4 years of being a really, really bad person. I would change that for sure. It hurt me more than anything. But I think, in generally speaking, my mother raised a good man, my brother as well. And we care about people, and we trust people first before not trusting them. We go above and beyond to help anyone we can. And that's just something that came from our childhood. I have to say, my mother was a single mother. And she did a damn good job at, raising us the right way, making sure that we were sort of, understanding that our actions have, we have responsible for actions, and everything we do has an opposite and equal reaction. So just tread lightly, make sure that when you know what you're going to do it with your full heart and move on, and just make it happen. Make it happen. I just like the most famous saying of my family, make it happen, make it happen. I've heard that like a billion times, and I think that helped us a lot. But other than that, I don't think I would change anything. Even the war, I don't think I would change. I would change that my buddies I wouldn't have lost my buddies. I would, that, of course the bad things, but I can't even say, because those bad things taught me so many things about me that made me be stronger in the areas that I never would have even thought about. Like I have a twin brother. Mm-hmm. I have a twin brother. We're exactly the same, but he has that soft side that I have. He doesn't have it. And the soft side that I have, he's a very caring person, but that retrospective sort of soft side about yourself, he doesn't really have. And that's because when I went to war and came back, I had that sort of battle within myself, and I wrote a book about it. I had breakdowns, the whole works. And it came to a part of me where I realized what it was in me that I saw that made me go to war, and what it was what I saw inside of me when I was in war, that I didn't want to be there anymore. Yeah. And I use that as my strength today. So I can't say that I would change that either. So, when you talk about business, I made a lot of business mistakes, but even the mistakes taught me. The reason I'm happy for my mistakes is because when I have a client now, there's almost nothing that they could have done that I haven't either seen, done, or heard of as a mistake, as far as mistakes goes. Like I've done them all, seen them all, made them all, worked with them all. I mean, so that's, for me, it's a huge strength when a client, oh my God, I'm like, look, this is that done. And they're like, oh wow, okay, yeah, been there, done that. Mm-hmm. So that's sort of good for me. But so no, there's nothing that I can say honestly. If we sat here long enough, I'm sure I could find a few things, but nothing pops into my mind. Not at all.
Oh, good deal.
Yeah.
So now, when you were transitioning out of the service, did you have any transitional growing pains, hurdles that you had to overcome?
Of course, I came out like a bull, coming out of the cages. You just like, here I am, ready, take me. I can do anything. And especially in Germany, where language was a huge barrier. What do you do else? What else do you do when you're in a foreign country and you're coming out of the military? You become a doorman. Mm-hmm. But so I was a doorman at the Hard Rock Cafe, and part of a techno club, which was one of the first group of 4 techno clubs that ever opened in Germany, where the whole techno scene started. It was in 1992, while I was still in the Army. I actually started with that club, and it was illegal, and the club was illegal too. So it was tolerated, but it was illegal. It got shut down 2 years later. But so I did that whole that nightclub scene kind of thing. But I also knew the reason I took, there was a lot of money in the techno scene, but not really many contacts, because they were all on ecstasy or drunk or whatever. And that was in 1992, and Red Bull was illegal, and we would smuggle it in from Austria, right? And then sell it in the clubs for, like $20 a can. It was crazy. Well, it was because it had taurine in it, high levels of taurine, which is illegal. Even today, it's illegal with those high doses of taurine. And what it would do is you would drink it, and you literally wouldn't get drunk. So you drink one of those and drink 10 beers, drink one of those, drink 10 beers, you wouldn't get drunk. It was crazy. So it was like the drink that everyone wanted in 1992. It was really hard to get, 1992, 1993. Anyway, so most people don't know it's that old. So, when I knew that if I wanted to grow as a person, as a human being, as a business guy, that I had to get out of the door club, the door scene, doorman scene. So I knew that at the Hard Rock Cafe, people would come there that would be contacts for possible jobs or, whatever for the future. So I started treating the Hard Rock Cafe like an interview process. And every person that came in, hey, how you doing? Welcome to the Hard Rock Cafe. What can I do for you today? Da, da, da. Okay, the host is up there. Go talk to her. Da, 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 da. And people would start getting, hey, you're like a very cool sort of doorman. You're not one of those typical sort of, mean kind of people. Although I could be at times when people, because at the time in Berlin, the soldiers were all still there. So you had the squatties, which are the Brits, and you had the Frenchies, and then you had the Americans. And, there would be fights quite often with these guys, stabbings and all kinds of stuff. And so I used the Hard Rock Cafe. To this day, people still talk about me at the Hard Rock Cafe. And that was in 1993-4, when I go back, they're like, oh my God, Steve, like everyone knows me, because of what I did there. And what I did is I created a community of people who cared about other people. And it wasn't just the staff; it was the guests. We had, the bar was full every night with about 40 guests that came there every night, and people would just wait in line to get in the Hard Rock Cafe, which never happened in Berlin before. And I made my own rules and everything. I mean, I basically ran the place. Like I ended up turning that into my own little. Like I stopped people getting in after 9:00 at night who weren't 21 years old. In Germany, where you can drink when you're 16, I said, I don't care. You're not getting in. This is going to be a really nice place to hang out, and it turned out to be one of the places to be in Berlin, a commercial restaurant, which never happens because people hate commercial restaurants in Europe, right? So, and that was the first time when I saw, man, I did this. Like, I'm not even the manager. I'm nobody. I'm the freaking doorman, and I did this, And that's when I got asked to. That's when I got asked to run a. No, so to ask for to work for TGI Fridays as a waiter, and I was like, not really a move up, but let's do it. It's no different people. And then 6 months after that, I was partner in a sports bar, and then a year after that, I opened my own cocktail bar, and then I went from there. So I just kept moving on and on and on and on, moving up and up and up and up.
Right.
So yeah, I don't remember what the question was. So so sorry about that.
It was a transition. How that.
Oh, the transition. Yeah. Okay, transition. Look, it was psychological. I had a breakdown. I woke up in the park in Berlin naked. No idea how I got there. I went home. I was 2 weeks. I was totally out of myself. I literally couldn't get back to who I was and where I was and what I was, what I was supposed to be doing and everything. I thought I was going to lose it, and I almost did. And I didn't. The transition is still there. It's still part of my everyday life. It's been 20, 25 years since I got out. And it's still there every day. I think about it every single day. I don't have a picture. I don't have a ring. I don't have dog tags. You don't see anything in my house about military, nothing at all. And yet I think about it every single day. So I think transition is a whole lifelong process, but it can be seen as a strength. What I just need to warn soldiers about, people getting out, so all soldiers or officers, it doesn't matter, enlisted soldiers, NCOs, whatever, is no one in the civilian world gives a damn about what you did besides serving. Thank you for your service. They don't say, thank you for your service and learning leadership and how to be a great person. No, they don't talk to you about that. They say, thanks for your service. That's all they can fathom. And then all these people coming out, I led a $250 million organization in the military, and I led 3,000 men and and people were like, okay, there's dishes you can wash, start with washing them. It's like, it doesn't compute to the civilian world. It just doesn't. Okay, a general or, a colonel and above, yes, of course. But even then, that comes from relationships. Most of those guys that I know, the generals and stuff that got out, they got jobs from the relationships that they had through the positions they had in the military. So it wasn't necessarily the rank or what they learned in the military. It's what they made out of the connections and the contacts that they had in the military. So even then, and all these guys working for the government, most of these guys had all these contacts while they were in the military. So, or made them while they're in the military. So it wasn't like their military experience got them the job. It was their networking that got them the job.
Yep.
So, I just find that so many people feel entitled when they get out of the military, and it's such a shame. And I felt it too, so I know what it's like. I'm like, here I am. Come get me, And I walk in and be like, here you are, I'm the warrior. They're like, Jesus, get out, You're way too intense for us. What is this, And until you went to be a doorman, they're like, you're exactly what we need, which was bad news. But, because then you fulfill that, don't you? You fulfill that need.
Yeah.
And that was, That was some scary stuff, man. Yeah. So, for transitioning soldiers, it just seems to me, it's a difficult world to be in. I think reality checks have to be, done quite often.
Right.
And my biggest advice for anyone transitioning is that if there's something that you want to do, find a person who's already there where you want to be and ask them to help you, mentor, coach, consult.
Sure.
That's the quickest, easiest, most efficient way to get to where you want to go. Trying to learn it yourself, trying to do it yourself, trying to get there somehow, trying to do it cheap on the down low, sort of like, hey, do you know somebody that can help me? Yeah, I know Jack. Oh, he's great. The guy around the corner, or Billy Bob, he'll do it for you. And Billy Bob does it for $50, and you're like, this is not working. Like, well, you just paid $50. What do you expect? So it's you gotta quality, and quality and value is, something you gotta seek. You gotta seek it out. Seek it out. Don't take no for an answer. Don't take less. Don't compromise on your dreams. Don't compromise on your future at all by going the cheap route. I just can't stand that sometimes. I did it too. I'm not going to spend $500 on a coach. You kidding me? Next thing you know, I'm spending $10,000 on a coach, and that coach took me from $0 to $100,000 in 6 weeks. 6 weeks. So was it $10,000 worth it? You're damn right it was worth it.
Yeah.
So, and it's just what do you get? What you put in is what you get out. You put in $50 for a coach, you're going to get $50 back out again, So, yeah.
So when you were starting your turnaround business, maybe kind of talk me through what that looked like.
Well, yeah, I was, like I said, I was running those bars, my own bars, open my own bars and clubs and stuff. And it's people asked me, said, man, you did that quick. Can you show me how to open a bar too? I'm like, sure. So I started helping them open their bars. And I was like a consulting company for opening restaurants and bars. Mm-hmm. So I did that for a little bit while I had my bars. And then someone asked me, hey, can you help us open a health club chain that's coming from South Africa? And I was like, never done it, but sure, I can do it. And I helped them do that. After 7 months, I was the general manager. And then we ended up opening like 8 clubs in Germany and Austria. And then I still had the bars, right, and delegated. And then I I got headhunted by another company from the UK, was listed on the stock market, and they asked me to be their director of Europe. And we ended up opening up like, I don't even remember, 35, 45, 55 clubs, locations, health clubs all over Europe, Spain, Portugal, Austria, Switzerland, UK, Denmark, or not Denmark, Switzerland and Czech Republic, Poland, Hungary, and where else? Spain. No, I just said Spain. Oh, Greece, that's right. So I started opening these up, and what happens is we open them up so rapidly that I had to go back and start fixing them, because the people that we put in place, they then got promoted and moved out, and they hadn't trained the people below them, and next thing you know, the company's not as profitable as it used to be. So I had to go back and turn them around, right? Okay. So I went back and did what I did in the beginning, and a lot of turnaround has to do. See, you have structure, and you have culture. Structure is easy to fix. We're now going to do this, boom, and this is where we're going to do it, boom. But the culture, of course, is something you got to cultivate. So you got to cultivate the culture, the trust, the respect, the certainty, the security, the variety, all that kind of stuff. All those human needs, the essential human needs, the one that we all have. That's part of the culture that you got to create in the company. So that's a huge part of turnaround as well. So it started because of the too rapid growth that we had in the company, that I guess the foundation wasn't there to make sure we had a good training program, we had a good HR system in place. We didn't have it, so I had to go back and turn it around, and I ended up just doing that from then on. Literally, there was so much work, and then I started working for the chain that hired me first and turned some of their clubs around, and then I started turning around. What was the one? It was a pharmacy chain. And then I did a hotel, and then I did a chiropractor's office in Miami, Florida, a chain of chiropractor's offices, and then a restaurant. I was flying over the world doing this stuff. It was crazy. And the reason is because, like I said, I walk into a place and I find immediate revenue. And so that just calms everybody down. It's like, how can you come in here and make that much money that quick? Like, I took over this one chiropractor's office as a test before the chain took me, and within 2 weeks we went from empty to full. Matter of fact, it was like you had a month; they were booked for a month out forward. And whereas they didn't even have an appointment a day, at least one a day they didn't have when I got there, and it cost next to nothing. So this is how I sort of earned my name, and I'm quite well known in certain industries for that. for turnaround. And it's funny because it's all applied. It's like what I've done. So it isn't like I have a structured, like I have a book that I can give you and say, this is what I do, it's like,
Right.
it's all, I'm very intuitive, very, 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 very intuitive. I've trained my intuition over years and years and years. And when I listen to somebody, I try not to think, I try to feel, and let my intuition take over. And that's a huge part of my turnaround as well.
So, now, would you say that that's your greatest strength then, is your intuition?
Yeah, bar none.
Okay.
Look, intuition is basically being able to, make a decision without rhyme or reason. That's basically what intuition is: making a decision and knowing it's right without rhyme or reason, without thinking about it, just doing it. And when you get to that point, it's the most powerful. It's the only real truth is your intuition. If you ask me, it's the only real truth is your intuition. And everyone has it, everyone uses it, everyone feels it, but we explain it away, we think it away, we push it away. Children are born with intuition. They're and we train it away. By the time they're hit puberty, it's like there's no intuition anymore. You can't do this, can't do that. Don't think this, don't think that.
Sure.
And then we spend the later part of our lives trying to get it back.
Yeah.
Like we make all these decisions to get ourselves into this hole or up against the wall, or we're somewhere we're not happy, or something's going on. You're like, something's not right. What am I doing here? Well, you thought yourself into this. Now you have to use your intuition to get back out of it. And it's a strong, very, very strong tool. Very, very strong. Very powerful.
So what would you say, flip side of that, what would you say your greatest weakness would be?
One of these questions sounds like an interview here, like getting a job. I have a lot of weaknesses. I think, I don't know. It's just, I think I'm not a big attention to detail guy anymore. I used to be.
Yeah.
So which is why I use collaboration partners to take care of all those details, because that's just not me. I used to be hot-headed. I'm not really anymore. I don't know. I don't want to say being too nice is weak is a weakness, because it's not, or because it's not. But you get taken advantage of. People try to take advantage of you sometimes because of that.
Sure.
So I don't see it as a weakness, but others would. I don't know. I got plenty. I just don't know off the top. I don't think about, like, you got to realize my thought process in this world, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If I have a negative thought, I will stop it in mid-thought and turn it around to make it positive. That's how anti-negative I am. So when something happens to me, like somebody asked me the other day, how did you learn all this stuff? What did you do? And I said, well, and they said, what do you do in a crisis situation? Aren't you scared? And I'm like, no, I'm too worried trying to figure out what the lesson is. So in a crisis situation, in panic, everyone's panicking. I'm sitting there going, okay, what am I learning here? What am I supposed to be learning? Okay, what is it? What do I feel? What's my intuition telling me? This is me in a crisis situation. So when everybody else is freaking out, I'm calm. I'm very cool, calm, and collected, because I know, okay, this is massive learning right here. Like, the more fear that I feel, the more I know I'm going to learn. So I'm like embracing it, embracing it. It's such a really weird way to do it. But when I look back, I go, I went through some really crazy stuff and some really dangerous, crazy situations, like gunfights and knife fights. And, in Berlin, when in the mafia days, I wasn't in the mafia, but, they were, and I was in the door scene, and that was mafia. So there was a lot of situations where I wasn't scared, because I was looking at the situation as a learning situation. And sometimes it was learning how to move, sometimes it was learning how to fight, sometimes it was learning how not to fight, sometimes it was learning how to talk, how to negotiate, mediate sometimes between two people, two fights or whatever, how to just a million different things. So I'm always looking for these kind of ways to learn in everything I do. So I do not think negative. I refuse to think negative. So I don't see any faults anymore in anyone. And if I find myself, say we're talking and that's something I don't like about you, then I'm like, all right, Stephen, why do you think that you don't like this about James? And they think, well, because there's something in me that I don't like. Right? So I come back to me and say, okay, this is the deal. I'm going to fix this. This is positive. It's already changing. Right? So this is how I don't think negative. I never let, and I don't say never, but I try never to let a negative thought go to its end. I stop it, like, bam, immediately. And my wife too, when she starts, I'm like, baby, come on, turn that around. When she starts talking negative or something, or starts having a bad day, I'm like, baby, turn it around. And sometimes she'll be like, yeah, I know. And sometimes she'll be like, don't Tony Robbins me, And but it works wonders. It really does, because after a while, nothing bothers you. Nothing. Because I'm learning. Like, nothing.
That's a huge gold nugget right there. You know, people
It is huge. It is huge. If you can control that, look, like I said before, the past and the future cannot on its own come to you and make you worry or make you regret. You are letting it happen by thinking. Stop that thinking, and that's that regret and that worry stops immediately. Now, don't stop it. You got to start a new one, and that means a positive one. You got to start the positive process. And I say the life force inside of me, the universe life force inside of me, we're all, and okay, now we're going to get religious, okay? God is one. God is everything. So there's God in us. So why can't we be godly-like and create our own reality and create positivity and stay positive with everyone around us? Why not? Right? If God is in us and we are God, right? Right? We have the ability. So this is how I think. So, when you're around me, you're going to feel positive. I promise you. Simple as that. It's not going to change. So when we meet, you'll be like, okay, this is cool because I feel positive. I feel jumpy. I feel excited somehow. This is the way I am. And I make sure that I program myself that way because your conscious mind trains the subconscious mind. It's as simple as that. We train. It's just like training for anything that you do, whether it's football, baseball, some kind of special sport. You repeat until it becomes automatic. And that automatic sits into your subconscious and allows you to do things without thinking. And that's the same way you can live your life. And you do that by being positive, finding the positive, finding the constructive, in things that you do and everything around you. Yeah. I know it sounds guru-like, but that's what I believe.
Hey, good stuff. Where do you get your best ideas? People, some people go in nature, to get those.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if there are ideas, but I get my most clarity when I do my retreats. So I'm going actually in 12 days or 13 days to Peru again. And I go to Peru for, I work with plant medicine, ancient plant medicine, ayahuasca, San Pedro, sometimes iboga, which I'm not doing this time. And I go in myself and find the divine, the divine me. And I connect with the divine universe, with God, with whoever's out there, and I cleanse all of that badness and all that, stout up kind of things inside of me. And I ask for complete love and forgiveness on the whole plane of my being. And I come out of those retreats more powerful than ever before. And I come out with a clarity that you can't even explain unless you've done it. The world and everything in it is so clear and so obvious, like, yeah, of course it's like this, It's like, yes, of course it's like this. And you can work around these things, work with these things much freer, much more productively. And yeah, so it's amazing. It's an incredible journey. I've been doing it for 10 years. I can't stress enough that if you have the calling, most people don't, but if you have the calling to work with the ancient medicines, the ancient plant medicines, then I would have to say do it. Now, I'm not talking psychedelics, and I'm not talking like, freaking out and being high. I'm not talking about that. Right. This is something where you go and you have to embrace the bad. You have to embrace the negative. You have to. Otherwise, it's going to fight you. And so it's a very deep process where you end up sometimes crying, sometimes screaming, sometimes feeling death and accepting death because that's something inside of you that's bad, that's dying. You have to accept it. But some people freak out because they think they're actually dying, So it's a very, when you don't know it, it's a very scary process. But it's so liberating. I can't even explain it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
you asked.
Hey, it's all good stuff. All good stuff. I'm half native, so we have a sweat lodge. So that's kind of the thing that my culture does.
Right.
I haven't done it in a long time, so I need to do some of that. So kind of be mindful of your time. We'll wrap up with a final question here, which is one of my favorite trivia questions. What's something that the people around you don't know about Stephen?
Well, I'm very open, as you know. I think what most people don't know is that I fight with chronic depression every single day, which probably makes the reason why I'm so positive about everything, because I know what the other side's holding for me or waiting for me, I guess you could say. So I fight every day with chronic depression. Like I have, but I don't let it get to me. Like it comes all the time, like the devil just sitting on my shoulder. It just never goes away. And it's always trying to get at me. And I just keep cutting it off in the middle and mid-sentence and turning it around,
Yeah.
And what that does is it gives you a very high joy and a very low depression. So that delta, the gap in between is a huge maneuverability in between there. And what I mean by that is, if you know what a metronome is, the
Sure.
back and forth, they say that as far as it goes left is as far as it goes right. Now, it's the same thing in alchemy when they talk about as above, so below. It isn't like an iceberg. This much sticks out the top, and then the whole bottom's like 15 miles deep. The depth of depression that one has is the height of the joy that one can have. So that joy sometimes gets a little bit scary too, because it's almost like a little bit like crazy-eyed scary joy, because
Right.
the depth that I have is also the height that I have. So it's a process where people think depression is only about going in the depths. It's also about going too high and sort of losing that sort of reality, and sort of burning yourself out almost. I mean, I get so excited sometimes because I'm so in love with what I'm doing in my life and my family and my wife and the opportunities I have and the people that I meet, that I stand and I could scream. I could literally just scream like some psycho. That's how happy I am. And I have to control that, or not control, I have to channel that into another, sort of energy process. Otherwise I would probably lose it, because I'm like, I just, and it's the same manic sort of situation in the positive as it is in the negative. And so, yeah, that's what it's probably more than you bargained for, but that's what I battle with. That's my battle. Yeah.
It's all good. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
It's good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule, to sit down here and be able to just dig in a little bit and dig in some Q&A about who you are, what matters to you, and sort of the big picture of Stephen Kuhn, so that people can get to know you a little bit better and get to know themselves a little bit better, I think, and that's the value of it.
That's key for me. I mean, I obviously I enjoy this, and it's an honor for me that the people actually listen to what I have to say. But the biggest thing, like we said in the beginning, is when you help somebody, it's priceless. What that does for you as a person, it's priceless. So I always enjoy seeing people excel, and especially in my business when I'm helping people excel in their business. I see the fear in their eyes when they sign up with me.
Yeah.
Like, Steve, I don't, I the scarcity, and then within a few days or even weeks, weeks or even days, they're alive and they're vibrant and they have ideas and it's just like we're going to do this, we're going to make this happen, and it happens every single day. So that's when I get with my clients, it's very exhausting because it's an hour video call and it's just constant because it's only once a week hourly, or 1 hour a week. And so it's very intense, very hardcore, and move on. We're planning, we're reviewing the last week and stuff like that, and then we always end in that high point. It's just amazing, and I'm the biggest fan of my clients because they are just amazing people. They turn into these like unstoppable, it's just amazing people, And I literally I look up to my clients. Like I look up to how they receive, how they understand, and how they implement. And it's just, of course, it's me helping them do that, but they take it far. You know how they say the student always surpasses the teacher, right?
Sure.
So, and these are my clients are a lot of them are veterans. Most of them are veterans, like 90% are veterans. And they just, just make it happen. So I'm like, for me, it's an honor to be interviewed, to represent what I do as something that's positive, and to be able to give back not only to the veteran community, but also to any human being around me.
Right on. So how do people get a hold of you? Obviously you have some value that people need, and so how can they most easily get a hold of Stephen? And
well, if I can break into something, things are changing now. I'm probably going to take on about 2 more clients, and then I have to stop. I just signed with an agency, a very, very big New York-based agency that's going to take my content, all of my lives, all of my books, writings, speeches, and keynote speeches tours, online content, all of it is going to take over completely. So that's all changing. I'll probably be more of a full-time sort of that kind of person, and more of a less consulting turnaround person. So I'm probably going to take about 2 more clients, maybe 3 more clients, and then that's all I can handle. So if someone wants to get hold of me for that, they get on Stephen-Kuhn.com. That's Stephen with a V -KUHN.com, and you go to contact. Work with Stephen. It says work with Stephen. You click on there, fill it out, send it to me, and I'll get in touch with you. Otherwise, they can send me a direct email. It's Stephen@S2K2management.com. So it's S with the number 2, K number 2 management.com, or Facebook, Stephen Eugene Kuhn, or my page, Stephen Kuhn Official, or my groups, or whatever. You can find me pretty easy on Facebook. I'm all over the place.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you heard it here, folks. Don't miss an opportunity with Stephen, because it's good gold nuggets at every turn. I'll tell you what.
Well, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it, man. I appreciate what you're doing too. I mean, it's not easy to work a full-time job and do a podcast and do so many interviews in such a short time. I mean, it's pretty powerful stuff, brother.
Yeah. Try to do what I can to help other people.
Yeah.
That's my legacy. That's my legacy. So
good.
Well, I appreciate your time here, and I'll let you get on to your life and back to your family and so forth. And as I always say, see you around the bend.
We will see you soon, my friend.
Okay.
In person in Texas.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
All right, brother.